You talk about the women's rights. Okay, you're blaming us all on the women. My body is my body, and I don't want the government telling me what I can do with my body.
Ma'am, are you having children anytime soon? That's my question. I'm asking a legitimate question.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was confronted with a question on abortion. Basically, she had all sorts of nonsense to say, but nothing that I would say is meritorious at all. Now, there's more to this exchange, right? There's more for us. Let's go ahead and get it.
You're right, it's your body, but a baby inside a woman's womb is another person's body, not your body and not my body. And that abortion is murder of another human being, whether that body is inside your uterus or not. But that is murder. I do not support the murder of another human being. I support life, and I will always stand up to fight for the lives of the unborn and life overall. But I don't think you're having children anytime soon. So I appreciate your interest in women's rights, but killing an unborn baby is not a woman's right, and that's not health care.
Woo, that was an incredibly disgusting exchange from Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course. Talking to her constituents in such a way that would really suggest that she does not respect them at all. Yeah, this is part of an exchange that she had when she was on a show called Night Talk. That's a politics and news radio program that's hosted by UCTV, a privately owned cable access station in North Georgia. And of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene had to get this in as it concerns any potential exceptions for rape and incest.
A child abuser and a rapist should be put to death if they are doing that to a 10-year-old child. Number one, I think that should be our focus. That is a very rare occasion. So that should not be the entire premise of the argument on abortion. Again, ma'am, I know you say it's your body, your choice, but I don't think you're having any children anytime soon. I think we need to focus on the future of America, and that's our children, because they are our future. And the unborn, they're our future also.
Disgusting. Now we're going to dive into Greene's abrupt exit later in terms of the show. But first, let's talk about her position and her argument here. So Greene's no exceptions argument, it's even more oppressive than Georgia's current law right now, which is a 6-week abortion ban. And under the current law, there are exceptions for rape and incest. Unfortunately, you have to file a police report in order to qualify, but still it's there. And the law also allows for later abortions when the mother's life is at risk or there's a serious medical condition that renders a fetus unviable. Yet it seems that if Greene were Queen of Georgia, she would greenlight unwanted children, incest babies, and handmaids. This should really be terrifying for her constituents. John?
Yeah, every part of that was as disgusting as politics can be. On the policy, on the ideology, and on the actual way that she was communicating with her constituents. And she's also lying. She says she doesn't support murdering people. Yes, she went on to say that she supports murdering people in some cases. The child rapist, she believes you should murder that person. You shouldn't be allowed to murder the fetus. Now, if the fetus grows up to commit any number of a long list of crimes that she thinks the state should be able to murder that fetus for, then you can murder them, but not along the way. She also supports vigilantes killing people in the streets. I mean, she supports people murdering each other in a lot of different contexts. I don't recall a lot of filibusters from her on stopping funding for drone strikes and things. She's perfectly fine with the government putting all sorts of different people inside and outside of the US to death. So that's a complete evasion. The fact that she then goes on to say, I appreciate your interest in women's rights, might be among the most condescending things that I've ever heard. First of all, this isn't an issue that only affects women, but even to the extent that she is going to naturally limit it to just women, you are talking to a woman who she has made the calculation, Marjorie Greene has, is too old to have any say. She doesn't get to opine on this. And so that begs the obvious follow-up. Marge, when are you now not going to be able to opine on what happens on any of this? I mean, you're not 20. Maybe you're not as old as the caller. I don't know, maybe the caller is 20 years older than you. At what exact age did that caller lose the right to have an opinion on what happens to her bodies or the bodies of people that she loves and cares about? Because you might be 3 years, 5 years, 11 years away from losing that right as well. Women's rights are mighty contingent these days. And then of course, to just continually talk about her age in that way. I know that we're supposed to be better, Adrian, than people like Marjorie Greene. We're certainly not supposed to refer to people as trash, but my God, does she make it difficult. She is just as trashy as a person gets. She is every stereotype of an ugly American. Ugly in every sense, in terms of values and ideology is what I mean. She is just a really trashy person.
Absolutely ugly and ignorant as hell. Like the thought that just because whether someone is childbearing or not, or whether they've been through menopause, it is something that dictates whether they can have a say in it, then it's like, oh, okay, well, if this woman who may sound older based on the sound of her voice, if you're saying that she can no longer bear children so she can't have a say, so why are all these dudes out here who don't have uteruses making any kind of comments about women's bodies? Get the hell out of here. Marjorie Taylor Greene is just ignorance personified. And the thing is, she can't even back up her arguments in any legit way, which is why she bounced so quickly from this interview. Because that call, it was one of several that she faced that forced her to address her position on abortion. And it happens to be a very polarizing issue, as we know, with the midterms. It also appears that Greene definitely didn't have the stomach for it to stick around. We know this per The Independent. As the questions began coming in from callers, Miss Greene was suddenly gone following a commercial break. A spokesperson for the Congresswoman told Newsweek that Greene was only scheduled to be on the show for an hour. Now, it does not appear that Greene was there for an entire hour, however, but when they returned from break, well, the hosts shared their reactions. They said this. Well, we are back without Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's gone, co-host Judy O'Neill said when the show returned without the Congresswoman. We'll take your calls and comments and whatever you have to say, but she left. She said she'd enjoyed my show and she's through. And she got up and left, the co-host added. So she's out of here. Nothing I can do about that. Well, it was a blessing to have her absence because I've been waiting for her absence for quite some time and I haven't gotten it yet. But the thing that seems to be very important that she needs to actually focus on is abortion. Again, being a driving issue in Georgia right now, where as mentioned, the state has a 6-week abortion ban in effect. And to note, on Monday, a state court judge there in Georgia heard testimony in a case that's challenging whether the ban violates Georgians' constitutional rights to privacy and liberty. But that judge specifically said that he's not going to rule on the matter before November 8th. Now, it would be great if he actually did rule on it before the midterms so we could get more bombastic takes from Marjorie Taylor Greene. But basically, speaking of the midterms, Greene is facing Democrat Marcus Flowers, and one of Flowers' advisors, Fred Wellman, well, he tweeted this insight on why he thought Greene left the show so abruptly. Marjorie Taylor Greene appeared on local cable access tonight in Fort Oglethorpe, GA. Flowers bought all the ads on either side of each segment and a few callers blasted her. This is the chef's kiss finale. It is definitely something. But again, it achieved Marjorie Taylor Greene's absence. I'll do whatever that will take. John?
Yeah, no, it's utter weakness. Not to leave, by the way. You're allowed to leave if you don't like the show. I mean, to leave in this situation just because you didn't like the questions an older woman was asking you or an ad or something, that's pretty pathetic. But you can go. You just can't then say, well, I didn't flee, I was only there for an hour. It's not up to you. Like, the host clearly thinks that you left early. Like, you could have said, you could have stormed out and then put out a statement, you know what, I've got more important things to do for my constituents than to waste my time with a bunch of empty-headed ideologues or something. You could have said that. It's the weakness of pretending that you didn't flee when it's abundantly clear to everyone who is watching the show or hosting the show that that's what you did. That's what's pathetic about it. But look, she's always gonna make missteps like this. She's not a bright person. She's not a sharp or a fast person. She goes in there thinking it's gonna work out. She can't formulate quick responses to the questions or comments that she faces, and then she leaves without thinking about the consequences of it.
No, sounds right. She fled like Josh Hawley on January 6th. And definitely not very bright, not very smart.